everybody, and welcome to the Garage, the Court of Public Opinion, another session. And of course, tomorrow our live streaming from the dining room table, which is, I know, it sounds a bit odd, but you've got to start somewhere. And we are going along in leaps and bounds. A very special guest tomorrow will be Andrew Killey. Now, Andrew Killey is the doyen of advertising, and I won't just say South Australia, because people would come to him in his agency in South Australia from all over the country, in fact all over the world. A very sought after advertising genius. A lot to talk to him about, and indeed I'd like to know what you think is the best advertising, or the best, well, I think the best advertising in the world, frankly, is called word of mouth. I really believe that. In fact, I registered it. In fact, I think I own it without showing too much hubris. I thought I was very clever doing that. Word of mouth, the best advertising in the world. But there are some fantastic ads that we've all enjoyed. Whether we've actually been motivated to go out and buy anything because of that ad, I don't know. I mean, you can look at an ad but be not particularly motivated to purchase the product, which is the whole purpose of the exercise. I mean, is a sponsor going to spend all that money to entertain us, or to try and get results for his client? A lot of things to talk to Andrew Killey about. Friday, join us and tell us what you think is the best advertisement you've ever seen. Usually the best are simple. Pete, the best advertising you've seen?
Well, I was just trying to think. I remember one that had an army jeep in it.
An army jeep? Well, you'd remember that, wouldn't you? Because you like army jeeps, yes.
I forgot what they were advertising.
Well, that sort of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
No, I think they're advertising jeeps, and they went back to the origins. That's what it was.
Yeah. What was that one for Holden cars? Footballs, kangaroos.
Meat pies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meat pies, football, kangaroos, and Holden cars. Meat pies. Once that got in your head,
Yes.
but you're just as likely to walk through the door of the retailer and say, "That's a lovely Ford Falcon. I'll have that." I don't know. Anyway, something to conjure with tomorrow. Supposedly eco-friendly paper coffee cups are just as toxic as plastic ones, and may be linked to birth defects and other health problems. God, supposedly eco-friendly paper cups may be just as toxic to the environment and to the human body as plastic ones, a study shows. Scientists in Sweden, I swear they've got more scientists in Sweden per head of population than any other country in the world, because everything I see come across my desk about research or this or that, it's all out of Sweden. Amazing. Swedish scientists found that the thin film of plastic coat on the surface of disposable paper cups to keep their contents from seeping into the paper emit toxic substances. An experiment that involves insects caused birth defects and other developmental changes and damage, both when the paper cup was left to biodegrade in water, as well as when it was left to dry. The news comes just weeks after similar results from researchers in Belgium who found that paper straws tested high in contamination of a group of toxic, synthetic, forever chemicals. Now the Swedish researchers are calling for transparency requirements within the plastics industry, hoping to force clear reporting of what chemicals all products contain, much like in the pharmaceutical industry. Because paper easily absorbs water and other liquids, oils, fats from all kinds of food and beverages, manufacturers treat the paper used in food packaging with resistant plastic surface coating without any thought as to what this may be doing in terms of a toxic consequence. Just when you thought it was safe. God. And just quickly, Australia Day falling apart? I don't believe that. Australia Day falling apart. Inner City Adelaide Council sparks outrage after scrapping January 6 citizenship awards without consulting ratepayers. The move to get rid of long-running events has led to a public uproar, with one councillor saying the decision had triggered more emails and phone calls than he could remember on any particular issue or consequence. City of Unley in Adelaide has sparked public outrage by scrapping a long-running Australia Day community event without consulting ratepayers. Now look, just let's get one thing clear here. 26th of January 1788 happened to be when the first fleet arrived, well, firstly in Botany Bay, but found a better harbour in Sydney Cove. That is the truth. The Aboriginals like to call it Invasion Day, or whatever they want to call it.
That wasn't the day.
No.
They arrived on the 20th of January.
No, that's true. You're right.
They raised a flag on the 26th.
They raised the flag.
But the invasion was the 20th, I think.
There was no invasion. I mean, for God's sake, 46 Marines can't invade and capture a country. Or you're saying something rather terrible about the people who were defending their country. I'm sorry. No, that all of that is irrelevant. The 26th of January, 1949 is what we celebrate. That's why people have their nationalisation ceremonies, because that is the day, the year, that is the commemoration of Australia becoming a nation. There is an Act of Parliament that was passed on the 26th of January 1949. From that time on, we all had an Australian passport instead of an English passport. Australia Day has got nothing to do with the hoisting of that flag. That was a ceremonial thing, a piece of history, yes. But we're talking about something quite different. These people are trying to weaponize nationalism or patriotism. I think we've got to have a really good clean-out of these people. I don't know how we get rid of them or how we disarm them. I got no idea. I want to read you this, and I might stumble over a bit of it because I can tell you the print is very small. But Pete, you did a good job. You blew it up as best you could. Thank you. This is from the NIAA document obtained under Freedom of Information, April 2023. It's a remarkable document, and it should put a shiver up your spine. It certainly puts a shiver up my spine. It starts off, Aboriginals will pay only 50% of the rate of income tax that other Australians pay. Now, this is the organisation that we, the people, the taxpayers of Australia, contribute. I said 4 billion. What did you say, Pete? $4.5 billion. Nobody knows where that money goes. They are there to advise government on the needs and special needs and requirements of Aboriginal people. I can't imagine where the accountability is. But they've been hard at work with their wish list. Aboriginal groups will have ownership of the beaches and the national parks, and Aboriginal people or non-Aboriginal people will be charged if they use the beaches and public parks. 10% of all judges, magistrates, police officers, ADF officers, vice-chancellors and ambassadors will be Aboriginal. No entry tests and no fees for Aboriginal people going to university. 50% discount for Aboriginals attending sport and music events on public land. Aboriginals to have first claim on all public housing in Australia. Reduced age of eligibility for the aged pension for Aboriginals. Rivers, streams and beaches to be owned by relevant Aboriginal tribes. Water consumption to be charged to non-Aboriginal people as per mining royalties on native title. So we have to pay Aboriginal people for every drop of water that we use. All new liquor licences will be vetted by The Voice. The Voice office will be the same size and will have the same budget as the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. My God, they're earning their $4.5 billion, aren't they? Woo. Exclusive sovereignty for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders over all land and waters. Create a new Aboriginal state from land under native title with its own constitution. Well, that's basically saying seize the whole country, I think. A treaty or treaties recognised in the Australian Constitution. Racially exclusive designated sites, or seats, in Parliament reserved only for Aboriginals. Racially exclusive designated seats in Parliament for Aboriginals. Aboriginals to receive a fixed percentage of the Australian gross domestic product and also the gross national product. That's upping the ante. Aboriginals to be exempt from paying land tax. Funding for The Voice to Parliament to be generated from a percentage of land and water taxes. Funding for Aboriginal bodies and programs to be linked to reparations for theft of land. Oh, we've stolen the land So we have to pay them. I'm sorry, you think back to Invasion Day, sorry guys, you lost the land. You lost it. You know, war happens all over the world. There are winners and the losers. You can't come round and have a second bite. I'm sorry. There's not much more, but I find it both interesting and frightening and necessary to tell you about. Funding for Aboriginal bodies and programs to be funded to reparations for the theft of land. Yes, I've told you that. Okay. Creation of a black parliament. That's a new one, haven't heard that. Creation of a black parliament. A race-based rent tax from an open checkbook. Don't know what that means.
Well, homeowners pay tax.
A race-based rent tax from an open checkbook. A race-based inherent rights for Aboriginal people in the Australian Constitution. Remaining cities, towns and landmarks after Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders must be renamed. They want to rename every city and suburb in the whole country. Well, I suppose they are earning their $4.5 billion sitting down doing this. The creation of sovereign wealth exclusively for Aboriginals. Australian taxpayers to fund the preservation of Aboriginal languages. How in God's name do you do that? I mean, there's no written Aboriginal language. They're all 400 different spoken languages. There's no written Aboriginal language. Changing the Australian flag because it symbolises the injustices of colonisation. I would say, suck it up, sunshine. That's the world. Tearing down statues of white explorers. Enshrining Aboriginal traditional ways of life in the Constitution. How are you going to do that? You don't have a written language. How are you going to do that? Enshrining Aboriginal traditional ways in the Constitution. Changing the curriculum in all schools for non-Indigenous Australians. Decolonising Australia.
Decolonising.
No, it's not colonising. Oh, maybe it is, yeah. Very hard to read, Pete. Decolonising Australia. Good luck with that.
Well, it means kicking us all out.
Well, I guess that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then who the hell is going to pay you all this money? I don't get it. I mean, Aboriginals contribute 0.04% of GDP. How would Aboriginals be able to create the wealth that they now enjoy if these white buggers weren't producing it for you?
Well, have a look at Africa. That's what happens.
Well, that's well, a good point, Pete. Have a look at Africa. Have a look at Africa. Basket case from one end of the country to the other. And I think there's one more. Fee-free access for Aboriginals to all sport and recreation, including free sporting equipment. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? Anyway, look, I think we have a one-off opportunity to try and bring some sense, because this is not what the average Aboriginal person is on about. These are the activists, I'm sure. These are the people who certainly don't wish good and wish prosperity and will upon Aboriginal people. I find it incredible that they've managed to suck this government and advertising agencies and media and journalists and politicians and businessmen into this crap.
And the ABC.
Of course, the ABC is a leading activist in all of this. Anyway, I will leave you with some dates and look forward to talking to you tomorrow at the dining room table. September 14, September the 14th, 2022. The procession of Queen Elizabeth's coffin from Buckingham Palace to the Palace of Westminster to lie in state, with queues of people paying respect, forming 2.4 miles, people standing, waiting to pay their respects. 1958, IBM introduces the RAMAC 507, the first commercial computer with a hard drive that uses magnetic disk storage. It weighed a ton. Wow! And you probably got that in a mobile phone today. Amazing. Dom Perignon, 1715, French Benedictine monk who helped improve the quality of champagne, dies at the age of 76 with a broad smile on his face. 1939, the world's first practical helicopter, which was the VS-300 designed by Igor Sikorsky. It was tethered, but it did take flight in Connecticut on this day in 1939. And they had helicopters in the Second World War, so they got that developed pretty quickly. Grace Kelly, American actress, Rear Window, the Princess of Monaco, dies in a car crash at 52. That was 1982. 1948, groundbreaking ceremony for the UN World Headquarters in New York. Rockefeller gave them the land. Big mistake. God, John Rockefeller. Oh, God. That was 1948. They've just been ranting and raving about climate change and saying, the sky's going to fall in. It's the end of the world as we know it. These bloody stupid people for which we pay, I think it's about $100 million a year to belong to that useless outfit, the United Nations. Anyway, maybe we can talk about that on Friday, tomorrow. The Great Fire of Moscow begins as Napoleon approaches the city and retreating Russians burn it. The fire continues to burn for 5 days. That was 1812. I think that goes along with the 1812 overture, doesn't it, Pete?
Well, I'm not sure, Jeremy.
The 1812 overture. I'm sure I know.
I do love it.
Yeah, I think that was something to do with the burning of Moscow. Malcolm Turnbull ousts, lovely political word, isn't it? Ousts Tony Abbott as Australian Prime Minister and leader of the ruling Liberal Party, 2015. 1938, Graf Zeppelin 2, the world's largest airship, makes its maiden flight. American actress Janet Leigh, 35, divorces American actor Tony Curtis, 37, after 10 years of marriage. That was 62. Sam Neill, New Zealand actor, born 1947. Isadora Duncan, American. Well, she was kind of like a free, interpretive spirit dancer. Dies at 50. She got her scarf entangled in the wire wheels of a Bucati. I suppose there are probably very few more glamorous ways to go, but I don't know. Isadora Duncan. That was 1927. Karl Marx publishes Das Kapital, Volume 1, his theory of the capitalist system and how it was doomed to destroy itself, 1867. I should introduce you to the NIAA people. Thank you. I think you guys would get on together. I do, Carl. You're just a bit ahead of your time there, I think. Yeah. John Harvard, English clergyman and benefactor, Harvard College, dies at the age of 30, but the year was 1638. I'll give you one more. 1942, US Navy Admiral Chester Nimitz presents the first Medal of Honor for courage and valour beyond the call of duty. This was awarded for this guy during the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was awarded to sailor John William Finn. And that took place in Pearl Harbor aboard USS Enterprise. Anyway, some of the things for which we remember today. Hope you've had a good week. And the week's not over. We've still got tomorrow. Live streaming, ladies and gentlemen. JeremyCordeaux.com, 3 hours from 9 o'clock. Got to set the alarm, Pete. Set the alarm, and I will be there with bells on, and I hope you will be too. Andrew Killey, special guest, advertising guru, and all sorts of interesting people coming on the show. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion from the garage, and the Facebook page, and the iPod. Believe in yourself. Pete and I will be back next week, but live streaming tomorrow. Bye for now.